Hi, everyone. Hope yesterday was fun. We're going to start today with the keynote speeches at Piyush said. Our first speaker is going to be Dr. Rajiv Gupta. He is at MGH, which is Massachusetts General Hospital. He is the HOD of Radiology and a professor at Howard Med School. Dr. Gupta earned his MD at Cornell and his PhD in computer science at the State University of New York in Stony Brook, his MSc in physics, and his BE in electrical from BITS Pilani. In addition to serving as the CIMIT site manager for MGH, he also directs the Advanced X-ray Imaging Sciences Access Center at MGH, conducting research in medical imaging, non-destructive evaluation of aircraft engine parts, and computer vision. Dr. Gupta's research interests include development of low-cost, lightweight systems for image-guided diagnosis and interventions. Please welcome Dr. Gupta.
I feel like I'm getting shot. So good morning. Today I want to talk a little bit about deep learning and its implication to medicine and beyond. I know a little bit about the background of the students after interacting with them yesterday. So most of the presentation is really geared towards them. I just want to give you a sense of what this technology is, where it is going, and what does it have for you. So it's a wordy slide. It basically, we had a symposium last year where we asked experts in multiple fields, can you tell us what are going to be the 12 disrupting technologies which are going to change the world and are going to be used by people in a very relatively short period of time. So they gave us 12 disruptive technologies. Mental health, they think, will be transformed by artificial intelligence. Voice first, so we are talking about things like Alexa and all the things that are voice activated. We're talking about intimate partner violence just by tracking people's phone conversations or essentially listening to their voice. You can get a sense of that. There's a revolution that is brewing in acute stroke care. So people who have stroke now can be diagnosed earlier, and then burden of healthcare administration. There are a lot of administrative tasks that are going to be transformed by AI. Healthcare information technology exchanges, things like eye health. Google has done fantastic work in this space, and I'll show some of that. Real-time monitoring of brain health, so like automatic detection of EEGs and asking the question, who's going to have a seizure or not? Malaria detection through blood smears and so on. Streamlining diagnosis, this is an MRI scan. How can we automatically detect diseases in there? Better prediction of suicide risk. Then they're reimagining medical imaging. So there have been lots of talk about can all image diagnosis, instead of being a radiologist, can it done by a human? So 4 of these things are on medical imaging, but medicine in general is going to be transformed according to the predictions by this technology. So in fact, I cannot go to a conference today where people don't ask me, would you have a job in 10 years? And I look at them and say, I'm probably going to retire in by 5 years, so it doesn't quite matter what this does, but it is going to have far-reaching implications for just about everybody in this room. Okay. So you know a technology has made it when it shows up in a presidential debate. Okay, so this is Andrew Yang, and I love this video because instead of wearing a flag or some kind of a nationalistic paraphernalia, he has math in his jacket. From day one, I love this guy. It's like somebody advertising math on the national TV is just fantastic. So I hope the video would play. So this whole technology has been described as the 4th industrial revolution. There was machines, the use of electricity, automation, and then taking of the jobs from industrialized world to the developing world. Now this is being described as something which is like the 4th industrial revolution. So let's hope this thing would play. So it's not, sorry. How can we play the voice here. What I'll do is, don't worry about it. Let's make this. Hopefully, my mic will pick up what he's saying, and we can restart.
The fourth industrial revolution is now migrating from manufacturing workers to retail, call centers, transportation, as well as to white-collar workers like attorneys, pharmacists, and radiologists. It does not care about our party.
So essentially, if a radiologist figures in a national debate, you have to worry. Okay, so what is this technology? What is it doing? So radiologists have been described as this wily coyote. I don't know how many of you watched this cartoon. We are told that we are like this coyote who has jumped off the cliff, and at some point AI will turn the gravity on, and then we'll all sort of fall down. And there have been lots of quotes about it. So for example, machine learning will displace much of the work radiologists and anatomical pathologists do. Architect of the Affordable Care says that. This is from Harvard Business Review. Professional work, when it is broken down in its components, parts, many of the tasks involved turn out to be routine and process-based. They do not, in fact, call for judgment, creativity, or empathy. So AI can do basically what we are doing. I love this thing. This is from Jeff Hinton. He's like the god of AI. We should stop training radiologists now. In fact, statements like this have had a negative impact because throughout England, enrollment in radiology is down. They have a great shortage of radiologists. My son is currently in medical school at NYU, and the buzz on the street is, why learn something which is going to be taken over by machines pretty soon? Okay, I think I have a lot of respect for Jeff. In this case, I think he's mistaken. Okay. This technology will play a role in all of our lives, including my life, but I don't think it will displace jobs. Okay, the example I give is pilots. Planes can be flown by computers pretty much, and they are being flown, but you always need a pilot. You always need a human in the loop. And this one is really good. Radiologists will be replaced by AI sooner than their executive assistant. So someone at Stanford said in the magazine Economist. So I don't know about all these other guys, but this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Because no radiologist has an executive assistant. Okay? So, but anyway, it looks like the target sign is on our back, and not only on the radiologist, really just about anybody who does cognitive tasks. Okay, so anybody who's doing any kind of cognitive task, the buzz on the street is a computer can do it better than you can. So what is it? How does it work? Why now? What can it do? And what are its implications and ethical issues in summary? So this is kind of what I'll talk about. So our story starts here. This is a match between Deep Blue and Kasparov. And I think that this image is from 1997. This was hailed as the ultimate example of AI. This was the epitome of what computers can do. And this was the last time a human being was a chess champion. Since then, no computers have essentially taken over. Computers play against computers for World Chess Championship. Okay, the humans have essentially no chance against these computers. So today, we will not even call this AI probably. Because what this program did was it could grade and score board positions. So it was programmed by humans who knew, who could play chess well. They had some scoring schemes, and they say, is this board position better than this position? And they'll always make moves in a manner that will optimize their score. Okay? And as a result, you're basically doing what computers have always done well. Keep track, calculate, have a lot of memory, but there's really not much thinking here. Okay? So this it scares me a little bit. it sounds funny here, but in the United States where people carry guns, this, this can be very unsettling. So the task of classification and things of that sort have been there forever. So this is an exercise that I give in a course that I teach. We give pictures of green peas and ask them, can you figure out which are good peas and which are bad peas, which are sort of slightly spoiled? So green peas are green. So if you pixelate it in RGB, you see the green channel. If it is higher than all the other channels, then it's green. Okay, you can do a simple classifier based on that, which is what is being shown here. And if you develop a classifier like this, you get all the real sort of impurities in it, but some of it's not a good classification. You can then ask somebody to just click on what you think are good peas and what are bad peas. And if you look at the pixel distribution, you'll get something like this. And then you can find a classifier that finds the classification boundary. And there are classical methods of doing it, the Markov random chains, support vector machines. There are all sorts of technologies that are available for this. But this is not what AI is. This is not what deep learning is about. Okay. So machines have been developed for inexact reasoning in medicine. There was a consultation program that could perform as well as humans. This program was implemented and tested. When do you think this program was developed? I'll give you it's a multiple choice question. 1975, 2012, 2017, 2018. So this is a very old program. This was based on essentially model-based, rule-based systems. Okay, this is the picture of the person who actually developed it then and now. And rule-based systems have been around. When I was doing my PhD, this was the buzz. This was the big thing. There was a fifth generation project that was launched by Japanese government that was supposed to take over reasoning. The compiler that I wrote for the first time was a Prolog compiler. Okay, and we would learn Prolog and we'll sort of, that was supposed to replace my job and do all sorts of things. But those things have sort of faded away because of all sorts of limitations there are. So this concept of artificial intelligence has been around for almost 100 years now. There is machine learning within that. There is supervised and unsupervised learning within that. And within that space, there is this small pocket called deep learning, which is kind of taking up all the oxygen and all the buzz today. Okay. So there have been like all these AI winters, and they have been described as AI winters. So AI gets like this big hype. It's supposed to do everything in the world, but then it sort of fades out because of certain limitations. And now we are at sort of this third hype today. Okay. So yesterday, a lot of people came to me and they were describing to me, oh, this is what I'm doing, but this is not hot. What do you think? Or this is, I'm doing this, but I really should be doing AI. And there was this young woman, she came to me saying, I really love physics. Okay, I absolutely adore physics, but my dad wants me to do material science because that's engineering. Okay, so, and so many such questions have come to me. And most of the times, when we make career decisions, we look outwards. I'll take a pause to sort of advise everybody in this room, especially the young people who are trying to sort of find like their path in life. First of all, no degree is your final degree. Okay, you continue to learn. The days where you get your bachelor's and go work for IBM for life are gone. Okay, you'll always be students from this point on. Then don't go by what is hot today, because that thing will fluctuate. What is hot with you? What is it that sort of resonates with you? That is what should you be looking for. I'll give you sort of my personal example. I did EE and physics in bits just by accident, to be honest. I took this IIT entrance exam, I got in, and I remember I was 16 years old. I go to IIT Kanpur, and I'm standing against this desk. At that time, communication was much poor, so they were by phone. They would say, oh, this thing is filled in Madras, this field is filled in in Mumbai. So in IIT Kanpur, my dad says, so the person across the desk, this old gentleman, he asked me, what do you like? So I said what the young woman was saying. I love physics. And I want to study physics. So the physics is good. We can give you physics in IIT Kanpur. My dad said, no. Isko the engineering karwana hai. He must study some engineering. So in the engineering, he said, okay, the only engineering. Sorry. Yeah. So this, he asked me, my dad goes, no, he has to do some engineering. So they gave me chemical engineering. We paid the fees and we went home. And then there was this, there used to be this National Science Talent Scholarship, and BITS was very progressive looking at that time. You could actually do science and engineering together. So that was an option, and I said, why do I want to do chemical engineering? I have like nothing to do with chemical engineering. Maybe it's hot. It's still pretty hot, actually. Good salaries in chemical engineering. But I want to do physics, and in BITS I could do both physics and EE, and which is what I landed up doing. And at that time, like computer science was good. I liked computer science. So I said, let me study computer science. Okay, physics is good. EE I kind of like it. It's good. So I applied for PhD programs. I did computer science. I applied for faculty positions. I worked as in faculty teaching computer science. And then at some point, like after 3 years being in academia, I said, something is not right. I'm writing all these papers, but I'm not building anything. I need to build something. Okay, so I need to. So the frequency theory was not right. The gentleman there was, but we're fine. I'm sort of used to it now. So I applied for GE. I started working I was doing VLSI testing, VLSI design, and so on. And a month after I started at GE, they sold their entire fabrication facilities to Harris. So my boss comes to me, says, Rajiv, the job we hired you for doesn't exist anymore. So you see, there's a theme here. Whatever I do, people are after that. People are trying to replace that. So he said, that doesn't exist anymore. So what do you want to do? I said, well, we have a very large aerospace division. There's a lot of problems in computer vision. Would you like to engage in computer vision? I said, sure, let me try it out. I worked on this system for looking at satellite images. The satellite images are coming. You want to make 3D stereo images of the Earth when pilots fly. They fly in terrain that is specific to the area. If you're practicing outside Baghdad, you're flying next to Baghdad, it should look like Baghdad. So you get the satellite images, you make a terrain from those images, you project texture on it, and then that's the space you fly in. We had a big flight simulation business. So that business went away because Nintendo came and all these things kind of just replaced that. Then we had a big aircraft engines division. I started using those things for X-rays. And before you know, they said, oh, we have in medical systems division the same problem. How can you take pictures around a patient and calibrate them and put them together in a tomographic image? That's a CT scanner for you. So I said, okay, well, let's apply it there. And then they put me in this hospital in outside of Paris. I loved the hospital environment. I said, this is what I want to do. So I come home and I told my wife, I want to resign my job and I want to go to medical school. She said, well, you have 2 kids. We have a mortgage to pay. Okay, and you'll be 46 years old when you graduate. What are you thinking? And I sat on it and I said, okay, let me just take the exams and stuff. So I took the MCAT exam and I was like, there were all these like kids studying next to me. I was sitting in the class learning organic chemistry and so on. So really in my heart, I really wanted to do that. So I took the exam and I got into some schools. Cornell was my top choice. And then it was too late. I said, I'll be 46 no matter what. If I don't do it, I'll never do it. So we sold our house. We put little stickies on all the furniture, sold it off, moved my family to the dorm in New York City. Deans were very supportive. They said, we'll give you an apartment. And when you make a commitment, something up there moves. Something changes both about you and about the world around you. So when I went to my boss saying I want to resign my job, say, Raj, why are you resigning your job? You have so much software that you've written. We can use it. We need somebody. So why don't you do this? We won't fire you or we won't let you resign. You just put in whatever time you can do to support the software that you've written, and we'll pay you. So all through medical school, I would just like log into the GE network. I answer the questions that the people using my software had, and that's what paid for the school. And then I went to do residency and so on, and I've stayed on. And what I'm trying to tell you is, don't look outward for career advice. Look inward for all sort of decisions of this sort. And you'll never go wrong. I mean, these hypes of AI and so on will come and go. But if you are sort of following what you are cut out for, you will never go wrong. So let's continue with this. So this is what AI is today, compared to what the picture I showed you. So this is a program from Google, AlphaZero, which not only plays chess, but plays 3 different games. And it has actually beaten all the chess champions in all those 3 disciplines. So I love, so there was this paper came out in Nature, and Gary Kasparov, who was the last human world chess champion, wrote an editorial for it. And he goes on to say, I was pleased to see AlphaZero had a dynamic, open style like me. So a little bit of self-pat on the back, you know. It's like, it's a computer program. It doesn't have an open dynamic style. It's just calculating and making moves. But I like the second thing he says. Programs usually reflect priorities and prejudices of programmers, but because AlphaZero programs itself, I would say its style reflects the truth, which is pretty deep, because it is unknown if chess is a biased game or an unbiased game. If you were to play chess optimally, does white always win? It's an open question. Are there strategies here? And people have sort of over millennia figured out how to play chess well, but now it's a computer that has really gone through pretty much all exhaustively what can be done. So hopefully the way it is playing is reflecting the truth. So can machines think? Okay, that's another. So there's a Turing test. So if a machine, if you put a computer behind a curtain, if you put a human being behind a curtain, and if 30% of the human beings cannot tell if it's a computer or a human being, then the machine has passed the Turing test. So this test has been beaten a long time ago. So when you go ask for help, you typically are talking to somebody, you're typing in this little box. Most of the times I have to ask, are you a human or are you a computer? Okay, because the chat bots have become so good that it's difficult. I mean, the only way I can say is if the text coming back at me is a lot, then it's probably a computer that is throwing canned text at me. But they're really, really good. In fact, it was Eugene Gutzman. It was a chat boy that was pretending to be a 13-year-old boy, and it could fool a lot of computer scientists. But this has like far-reaching implications. Okay, let's forget about radiologists and doctors for a moment. It has far-reaching implications because a good part of our revenue as a nation comes from call centers. If chatbots and these programs become so good, where will call centers be? Okay. So I recently, some of you may have seen this. This is demonstration of AI as a sort of a chatbot. Okay, and hopefully this thing will play, and you will be able. Were you able to hear the voice in the previous one? Okay, because I'll just stand next to it, and hopefully this will go.
That's a little too close for comfort, lady.
Oh, damn.
What, you never seen a talking gargoyle before? Welcome to Illuminati headquarters. I mean, Denver International Airport.
This is awesome.
Hello? Do I know you?
Are you hungry?
Oh, I'm starving. You got anything for me? Those flowers look delicious.
Oh, it's because of the conspiracy.
Oh, it's because of the conspiracy. Look at me. I'm a little know-it-all. Will you get back over here? I got a question about this conspiracy. Did you have to buy an extra seat for your hat, sir? Sir, are you stealing a desk? Sir, you have resting, confused face. Do you have a favorite animal or pet?
A caterpillar?
A caterpillar? Wouldn't you rather have a gargoyle?
No!
Yes. You know, you can actually put the phone down and have a conversation with me. But no, I'm a millennial. I've got to post it. I've got to snap face it and Twitter book it. Excuse me, miss, I've got a stain that needs some polishing. Can I borrow your cleaning cart?
Oh, no.
I need your help. Guess what my favorite food is?
What?
No, I want you to guess.
Cumin?
Cumin. Yes, I love cumin.
I said human.
Oh, I thought you said cumin. I'm a real big spice guy. Furry hat guy, I can't believe you are wearing one of my friends.
Hey, this isn't your friend.
It used to be until you put it on your head, man.
How old are you?
Well, 243 years old now. I look good for my age, don't I?
Yeah, work out.
All the time. You should see my squats.
You're such a sweet talker.
Will you take me back home with you?
Let's go. I have some space in my backpack.
Actually, I think you have too much baggage for me.
So that's a real demonstration. This is what AI can do. This is a chat bot with voiceover and some expressions. Okay. Can AI write poems? So here are two poems. Either of them could be written by human or a computer, by an AI program. And so there's 1 in 4 chance that you get both right. Because we're kind of doing like a crowd-based Turing test right now. Let's see if AI can fool you guys. The first poem is red flags, the reason for pretty flags and ribbons of flags, and wearing material and reason for wearing material. Give pleasure. Can you give me the regions and the land, the regions and wheels are perfect. Enthusiasm. Human or computer? By a show of hands, let's say humans. Computers. Excellent, okay. Second poem. A wounded deer leaps highest. I've heard the daffodil. I've heard the flag today. I've heard the hunter tell. It is but the ecstasy of death. And then the break is almost done, and sunrise goes so near that we can touch the despair and frenzied hope of all the ages. Human, computer, human. Okay. So majority of the crowd got it wrong on both counts. Okay. So the first poem was written by Gertrude Stein, very famous American poet. The second poem was written by this program called RKCP, where it basically takes a poetry from some person, kind of learns the sort of the timbre of the speech and kind of re-puts it out. Okay. So how does this all thing work? What is the magic here? Okay, so there are neurons. Our brains are full of neurons. They have a cell body and an axon. They have dendrites. They connect with each other, and we got billions, trillions of them in the brain. I don't know, lots and lots of connections. So this is how our brain is wired through these neural networks. And now we have essentially a computer program that can simulate these connections. So we have these layers after layers after layers, and their connections. And just like in neurons, you have weights which determine how the inputs get mapped to the output. The neural network can do the same. It has weights that it can program. When I was doing my PhD, this was a big thing back in the early 80s. But then it died away because it could solve a set of problems, but not universal in any way. The key insight today is that we know how to program this optimally based on examples. Okay, there is a there's a little bit of a stretch. We call them artificial neural networks, and we think intuitively that these are somehow doing everything that our brain does. I tell all the people who do neural networks that's an insult to God. Okay, because what these are doing is such a small subset of what a human brain is able to do. A child's brain is different from an adult's brain. A child brain is classified into the frontal lobe and the amygdala, is highly specialized. It is constantly not only reprogramming itself, it's reconfiguring itself. None of our neural networks do that. We do not know what the right optimal architectures are. We kind of just experiment, we download ResNet or UNet and kind of just program it, and it works, it doesn't, then we go with another one. So it's really not, I mean, it's a sort of an approximation to neural networks of the brain, but it's not quite there yet. And the key insight has been, just like a blind man can climb up a mountain, a neural network that is totally unprogrammed can find the optimal loss function, if you will. So essentially, if a blind man, if he has to climb a mountain, he'll put the first hand here, think this side is going up, let me walk a little bit this way. Then he'll feel the mountain again and say, let me walk this way again. So here, if there's a global loss function, if you want to optimize something, we calculate these weights, and based on the examples, we say, if I tweak this weight a little bit, would I go in the right direction or the wrong direction? I tweak the weight. And then I keep tweaking the weight, and there is this back propagation algorithm, which is what fundamentally these networks are doing. So essentially, if you have a lot of pictures of cats and dogs, Google was the first one to actually come up with this example. You can write a program that doesn't know what a cat is or what a dog is. It has never been programmed with the features of a cat or a dog, but you can optimize the weights so as to get an accuracy very high. Okay, and now you can do programs like this. In fact, the image recognition programs have become really, really good. And you can, there's a company called Clarify. You give it any image, it'll give you keywords about that image. And I've tried to do that. I've tried to fool it. It doesn't quite work. I mean, it's very, very good, if you will. Okay. So why now? What has happened? First of all, there's a lot of software that is available. There's Python and TensorFlow and Keras and any number of software. But what people don't realize is there is a very smart business decision that Facebook and Google and all these companies have made. What they have said is, we will not monetize this IP. We will give it out for free and they'll let the world have a go at it. Let 1,000 flowers bloom. And that's a very transformative thing in this space. And then there's hardware available. You can buy GPUs for a few $100s, tens of thousands of rupees, if you will. Okay, you can buy an IDX1 for $100,000+, but it's like a really powerful machine. You have a lot of data available. We have like billions of images in the MGH database just on images. Okay, internet is full of all sorts of images. And then there's the openness, that the data is available, and so people are sharing their code. Because of all this, this perfect storm, we are seeing this AI world. Okay, so there are lots of medical applications. I realize most of you are not physicians in this room, so I'll kind of go fast over this, and I'm also kind of running out of my time. We started a little bit late, so I may go about a 5-minute over, if you will. Okay. So somebody yesterday proposed a thing about, can we look at images and do basically simple pathology? Well, that's an FDA-approved system today. Okay, so given a slide like this, the system can actually mark out what are the malignant cells. Okay, so given a slide like this, it will tell you what. There are pathologists I know, they would always go to tissue mark or some program like this before they issue their final report. Okay, cytology also. There's a picture, this is an ad from Google. The same technology that knows your dog from your cat has doctor know a healthy eye from an at-risk one. Okay, so they took a bunch of images from India. They were all nicely labeled. They were of the posterior chamber, and they were able to do diabetic retinopathy. And they can beat human beings in diabetic retinopathy. Okay, this is the paper that came out in JAMA. Somebody was proposing a problem. Can I take a picture with an iPhone of a mole or something and do the ABCD that pathologists do? or dermatologists do to see if it is cancer or not. Well, that program exists, an FDA-approved program, and you can do exactly what was being proposed. There are lots of programs that are available for automatic fracture detection. So wrist fracture, for example, spine fractures, if you will, they can be automatically detected. Okay, there's a company that will upload your CT scan and will not only find where the vessel occlusion is, if there is a stroke or not, it will page appropriate people. Okay, so this is a page that is being sent out by this automated computer program to alert the interventionalists that there is a stroke in progress. And they say instead of 66 minutes, which it would have taken, they can do it within 6 minutes. Their emphysema automatic classification, pneumonia detection, if you will. Okay, there is deep learning for chest radiographs. We did some simple examples, and today the technology is good, but it's still not there. It's not 100%. Okay, so it improves accuracy, emergent situations, but there are limitations. Okay, there are some programs which are really good. They have the human level performance, but majority of the programs that I've tested, they really are not fieldable. I teach a course in this space, and I give students several thousand CT scans. Some of them have hemorrhage on them, some of them don't have hemorrhage. And then they program a system, we get AWS to, and then they, within an afternoon, everybody gets like 95% accuracy. That's pretty good. And then it's good for like basic screening, but it's not good enough to be fielded. If your radiologist was missing 5 hemorrhages out of 100, you don't want to go to that radiologist. Okay, so it's not fieldable, but it's pretty good. So this is CNN architecture for ICS detection. That's where most of the programs are. So it has been suggested that we can do workflow reconfiguration. These scans should be looked at first, and these scans should be looked at afterwards, because typically on a given morning, there are like 10 of us on a given day. There'll be probably 200 scans that need to be read. Which one should we be reading first? So this is good enough for that. So algorithms for head CT scans. So this was a study from India. They tried to look at how do the programs do on different types of pathologies in the brain. And these are like 2 different programs that have been tested. And if you look at, so that's where they perform, that's where the humans are, and that's where the computer is. So this is somebody's program. If you really put your mind to it, you can probably beat a human being in this particular space. But currently the programs are not quite there to be fielded. Lung cancer screening, again, they've shown that the systems can do better than humans. And it is not a surprise, and many tasks that you do today, tomorrow will be done by an AI-based program. I think of AI as Control F on an image. So just like in a Word document, you can do Control F and find a word, and a computer always outperforms you in finding all the words. If there's a very specific thing that you are looking for in an image, a computer will always do better than you will. Okay? So what AI is giving you is the Control F in the image space. So many people have this response to it. They say, I'm not going to listen, I'm just going to continue. But people have been wrong. There are all these technologies that I've listed here that have essentially replaced humans for these tasks that were done here. If you look at the valuations of the company, this is a slightly older task. All the companies that are involved in AI and deep learning, they have much higher valuation than GEs and Siemens and Philips. They are the ones who make imaging equipment. All the smart money is going in that space. Okay. So what could it do for radiology and for medicine in general? It's good for prognosis because it can assemble a lot of data. It is good for diagnosis. Certain tasks are destined to be done by that. It's good for treatment, workflow optimization, expanding access. But it'll make mistakes. Okay, it is data hungry. You need lots of data in order to be able to do that. It's confused. It's correlation rather than causation. There's really no understanding about it. It's relatively shallow. It's actually a very simple algorithm. It's opaque. People are trying to solve that problem, but for the most part, it doesn't explain. When a primary care physician comes to me saying, Raj, why do you think this is a GBM? Why do you think it's a brain cancer? I'm able to tell them, well, this is enhancing. It's got these borders that look like this. It was not there in the prior scan. None of that with AI. Okay, and it's static. It assumes a stable word, which is a very fatal assumption, if you will. And it'll always make some simple mistakes. So if you, for example, think of this everybody will say it's a bagel. And if you put this, sometimes the computer program will say that dog is also a bagel. It kind of looks like a bagel. Okay, and this is a common mistake. So Google makes this mistake. Everybody makes this mistake. Okay, so I teach a course to Harvard medical students on X-rays and so on, and I teach them. Let me take a minute to tell you how an X-ray tube works. So this is an old X-ray tube. Okay, you have a cathode here. It's a filament. With the filament, you heat up the filament. You boil off electrons. Okay, those electrons are always there. In an old-fashioned light bulb, there are electrons around the filament. If you put a positively charged something, those electrons will get sucked into it. So that thing on the side here is your anode. Okay, so this is a positively charged anode, and it's cut at an angle because when the electrons come and hit, X-rays are going in all directions. But then the X-rays come out, and the back-going X-rays are absorbed. So I've been showing this image for maybe 15 years now to the students. And maybe three years ago, one of the students goes, that looks like a crack pipe. I said, well, I have no experience with crack or crack pipes. Can you please send me a picture of a crack pipe? So he sent me a picture of a crack pipe. Wow, that looks pretty close. I was impressed. I don't know what these HMS students are doing nowadays. So I said, how does it work? I said, well, professor, let me teach you how it works. Okay. So just like you have a focusing cup here with a filament, there's a cup here and you put crack in there. And just like you boil off electrons, you boil off crack here. Okay, so then you have this anode that has been cut at an anode angle. We have an anode sort of cut like an anode angle. And over here, then the electrons hit the anode and you get these high energy photons. Okay? Over here we just get high. So I looked at it, I said, sounds pretty interesting. And then I looked at it a little bit more closely. And I said, the people who smoke crack are not that sophisticated. Okay, or maybe they are, but, and then I looked a little bit more carefully. This is actually an old X-ray tube. It is really not a crack pipe. So I thought to myself, what has happened here? The student thinks it's a crack pipe. So what he probably did was, he went home, and because I asked him for an image, he Googled crack pipe. And then he went through all the Google images, and the one that looks closest to the tube that I had shown him, he picked that out, and he sent me that image. And it turns out that was not a crack pipe. Google once in a while makes a mistake and misclassifies images. So some of the X-ray tubes in the Google search engine have been misclassified as crack pipes. Okay. So this is what is the Achilles heel of this. You have to have a human in the loop, otherwise you'll be smoking crack for a long time. So this is what real crack pipes look like. Okay, there is a flask and there is and so on. So what is this technology good at? This is Control F for images, as I said. It'll tell you where there is a nodule. Is there a cancer? Is there hemorrhage? What it is not good for is what's wrong with this image. And Jeff Hinton and many people misunderstand what a radiologist does, and in general, what a physician does. We gather information, and then we sort of put it together. What is wrong with this picture? So if I was to ask a computer program, find me a dog in this picture, it'll find me a dog. But if I ask what's wrong with this picture, most AI-based programs would have no clue, because those are open-ended questions. Okay, so whether the board does not belong on the road would be lost on this program. So I remember, if I can take an example, the first day I showed up in the radiology training program, we were given a film. At that time we had film, and everybody was supposed to diagnose what is wrong with that film. So I put it up. Dr. Wittenberg was standing next to me. I said, Dr. Wittenberg, it doesn't look right. Okay, I have no training in radiology, nothing. Okay, but there are all these, like, all through the bowel, all through the GI tract, there are these little balls and so on. Okay, and it has like a very artificial look to it. I said, something is wrong with this picture. I cannot put my finger on it. So okay, let me give you a little bit of history. This patient was brought from Logan Airport directly to the hospital. So, And then, then with some help, I could put it together. He was a body packer. They put cocaine into these condoms and they swallow the condoms. And they fill up their entire GI tract with condoms filled with cocaine. And what I was seeing was those condoms. That's why there was this artificial look. I had no training in radiology, but I could tell because I had a neural network that had been trained for 40 years. So just about everything that we see factors into the trading. Okay, so I will be quick about it. So where is Waldo? It can do. It knows horses, but not zebras. So it can. And with supervision, we also can kind of learn most of these things. It's a transformative technology. I feel it'll have a role in all of our lives, but it'll always need human supervision. So there are good, bad, and ugly of humans, so of AI technology. So transportation, earthquake prediction, automated diagnosis. These are all good things. Okay, there may be some repercussions on who is doing this job, whether there's a reconfiguration of the job market, and so on. But these are all good things, and the AI will have a role in that. And then there is all these things about taking pictures and modifying them and so on. Nancy Pelosi's picture and video was recently modified. So the baby's face has been transformed. And of course, you can find lots of pictures like that. and the poster is appropriately named Diwar because he's trying to build a wall. Diwar means wall in Hindi. Okay, and then there are also, like, you can have the whole video sequences, which are, so these are like very fun to watch. Okay, and then there are all these ethical concerns. So I don't know if you may not know here, Memorial Sloan Kettering, the chief of pathologist, was actually fired, and he's being prosecuted for it because he sold the entire database along with the diagnosis to a company in which he had some interest. Okay. There are all these things that are happening because face recognition is so good that humans are not as reliable. So there are all these mass screening programs for Uyghurs and so on. Okay, so what is this? Is it Caesar the emperor, or is it or the emperor has no clothes? Okay, the reality is somewhere in between. I think of it as Joe the handyman. Okay, it'll help our lives. It'll be good for us in general. Okay, so there are challenges in integration with workflow. Biased data sets are, bias is a problem. Regulatory issues are there. It's a black box, but there are many applications. It's a second pair of eyes. For many labor-intensive tasks, it'll be great. For back office jobs, it'll be great. So I think, oops, that's my last slide, and I'll stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Rajiv, for briefing us all about what AI has done and can supposedly do. Your subtle take on employment due to AI, I'm sure, has opened many eyes. I'm sure the next time if someone plays a chess, they'll think of this talk.